Hello, God bless all of you today. This is Laurie from Spirit Warriors of Christ, and I just wanted to share something with you today. I was actually looking online and just scoping out websites to see um, what was online and you know just you know, searching to, because I was doing some Bible study and preparing a scripture, um, and I ran across this article. It comes from, and the author of this article is an Adam Eliyahu. Um, but this article is incredible evidence that proves 10 plagues happening today. And this is dated April 21st, 2016 at 10:30 a.m. I don't know whether that's Eastern Times, Central Standard Time, or what. But this is what it says. And Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should hearken unto his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord any more over I will not let Israel go." That was in Exodus 5:2 of the Israel Bible. And that was said by Pharaoh, as it states in the beginning. Um, and then it says it has a picture of Moses, a movie clip from YouTube, and it says underneath, it says, "On Friday night, millions of Jews all over the world will recite the 10 plagues which God brought down upon the Egyptians thousands of years ago. What you may not know is that these plagues not only happened then, they're happening now. Read on to discover how the 10 biblical plagues are returning today before our very eyes." Okay, and it starts with water into blood, and which is in Exodus 7:14 to 24. And it shows a satellite photo taken of the Nile River released on April 1st, 2016, from the European Space Agency. The first plague, initiated by Aaron, turned the Nile into blood, transforming life-giving water into a symbol of death. So completely is that image embedded in our collective unconsciousness that when a recent satellite photo used an effect that showed the Nile River as crimson, the internet went wild. In a separate episode in August, Environmental Protection Agency personnel unintentionally released 3 million gallons of toxic wastewater into Cement Creek in Colorado Nature Reserve, turning it bright orange. And the next is the plague of frogs, which is Exodus 7:25 through 8:15. Says residents of Southern California will be reading their Passover Haggadah, I believe that's how you pronounce it, to the off-key accompaniment of the mating call of tiny frogs that have recently invaded the West Coast. The coqui, native to Puerto Rico, found its way to Hawaii, and later to California. The tiny tree dweller has a disproportionately loud screech that is so loud that people have called the police, mistaking the croak for a house alarm. A male frog will screech all night to drive away competing males while he courts his lady love, annoying residents and even driving property values down. A young frog is smaller than a fingernail, so it is disturbingly easy for them to be unintentionally transplanted, making this plague a serious candidate to crop up in the most unexpected places. The next one is lice, and that is Exodus 8:16 through 19. It says, "This year saw an outbreak of a new multitude strain of super lice that is immune to the traditional pyrethroid treatments. The epidemic had doctors in 25 states scratching their heads to find a solution. Social habits of technology addicted youth aided the lice, as the eggs can be transferred via headphones and head contact during the other teen plague. And then wild animals. We have wild animals. Exodus, which is Exodus 8:20 through 21. And it says, India is seeing a resurgence of the plague of wild beasts. Just last week, fields were ravaged and 17 people were injured in Kendrapara as a wild boar attacked this village. In the Indian state of Tamil Nadu, 6 people were killed by tigers and 20 by wild elephants in the last 3 years. Even stranger is a mysterious, unidentified animal that has attempted 3 times this month to drag children from their beds in the Seor district of India. Closer to home, in a reminder that nature is never fully under the control of human keepers. The head tiger trainer at the Palm Beach Zoo was killed by one of her charges last Friday. Then we have diseased livestock, which is Exodus 9:1 through 7. It says, despite advances in veterinary science and massive investments, man does not control disease in livestock. Mad cow disease first struck 19 years ago, and UNSAID has invested $320 million over the last decade on controlling animal disease. Despite these efforts, the disease continues to baffle scientists and has recently cropped up in a new form called chronic wasting disease, or CWD, affecting deer and reindeer. It is highly contagious and always fatal. It is found across Europe and much of North America. And then next is boils. And that is located in Exodus 9, 8 through 12. Okay, and it says, in 2010, scientists traced the bubonic plague to ancient Egypt. Ancient cultures lived close to their livestock, and the plague was transferred from animals by fleas. Egyptologists found 3,000-year-old remains of Nile rats and used fine sieves to discover the remains of fleas in ruins. The two components for the plague. Egypt is now believed to be the origin of the disease, suggesting that the biblical plague of boils, a common manifestation of plague, and the bubonic plague are in fact one and the same. The symptoms are even described in a medical text from 1500 BC known as the Ebers Papyrus. Plague is not vanished, though, today. Its source is man-made rather than natural. Last year, the Department of Defense announced that it was investigating mishandling of laboratory samples of anthrax and bubonic plague while shipping them across overseas. And then we have thunderstorm of hail and fire, which is in Exodus 9:13 through 35. An unusually heavy hail fell in Dallas, Texas last month, with golf ball-sized hailstones pummeling the area. Thousands of cars were severely damaged, in a reminder of how Pharaoh's chariots must have suffered from this plague. In the Bible, this plague manifested as a miraculously unnatural mix of fire and ice. This phenomenon recently reappeared in a video posted on Sod 1820, a religious Hebrew language website. The video shows a startling mix of fire and water as large flames shoot out from the source of a flowing spring in the desert on the border between Iran and Afghanistan, though a natural cause is surely to blame. The biblical connotations are unmistakable. And the next, of course, as we all know about this one, is locusts, which is found in Exodus 10, 1 through 20. And it says, last year, locusts devoured 10% of the harvest from Russia's southern farmland, bringing about a state of emergency. 3 years ago, southern Israel was hit hard as a precursor to Passover. Last month, West Australia experienced an unusually large plague of locusts. For Jews, this plague can be a mixed blessing, as locusts are technically kosher, and an Israeli startup, Steak Tartar, is working towards solving global hunger with insect protein. Their award-winning bugs have been featured in gourmet feasts that are kosher enough to be served at any Passover meal. The next is darkness, and this is found in Exodus 10:21 through 29. America is much more vulnerable to an attack of darkness than you might think. In April 2013, after a power station in California was targeted, a federal energy regulatory commission analysis of the event found that a surprisingly small number of U.S. substations were knocked out at once. It could destabilize the entire grid enough to cause a blackout effect during a blackout effect affecting most of the U.S. But this plague may not come from the hands of man. Rabbi Yitzchak, I don't know, I can't pronounce it, Cohen, predicted that when the planet Nibiru enters our solar system, there will be a 2-week period of time in which we won't even be able to see the sun. Death of firstborn. Exodus 11, 1 through 12, 36. 11 1 through 12:36. And that says, unlike the first 9 plagues, there are no indications that the 10th plague is making a comeback, but there is evidence that the Egyptians' firstborn were truly victims of divine wrath. Egyptologist Peter Roll found hints of the dreaded 10th plague in the Ipuwer papyrus, and now held in the Dutch National Museum of Antiquities. Never mind. The papyrus, a copy of an earlier work from around 1800 BCE, describes a catastrophe in terrifying phrases that are strongly reminiscent of the biblical killing of the firstborn, referring to the children of princes being dashed against the walls and cast out into the streets. So there you have it. There are the plagues, and supposedly, by going by this author, these are all plagues happening today. You can see that some of them have indeed happened already. There are some that have happened that aren't mentioned in here, I'm sure, but this article was published quite a while back, but I just wanted to share that with you. I hope you got something out of that. It was an interesting article, and I thought I should share it. So anyway, I hope all of you are staying well and not going stir crazy, having to stay at home. God bless all of you. Thank you for watching. We will do our best to try to continue to give you scriptures and updates on and whatnot. So just keep checking, watch for our posts, and we will see you soon. God bless.